Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons why Shane Bieber is elite as a pitcher. In my opinion, probably top 5, definitely top 5 in the game, probably top 3 in the game, honestly, right now. But I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I think he's elite. So if you don't want to miss that or any future content, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. All right, I recently watched one of Bieber's games against the White Sox. It was a heck of a pitching matchup with him and Giolito. I've broken down Giolito on this channel before, so if you want to check that video out, I broke down his no-hitter. You can find it right here. But Shane and him matched up, and I pulled some examples from that game to illustrate why Shane is so good. I love Shane. He's one of my good friends. I give him crap all the time, needle him, you know, trying to beat him on strikeouts and stuff like that. But I do have to give him his props. He's really, really good. And it's fun to watch him pitch. So thing number 1 that he does to be really elite, he has some pitches. And every pitcher has some pitches. But the thing that makes Shane's arsenal so good is that all the pitches are differentiated. They don't blend together. There's no like fastball that looks kind of like a changeup, but maybe sometimes is a 2-seam, and a cutter that sometimes is a slider, and maybe it's... They're all different. He's got a fastball, he's got a changeup, he's got a slider and a curveball. That's his primary mix. He will actually mix in a cutter, but when he mixes in the cutter, it's distinct from those other 4. So here's an example. I'm going to play through an example right here of the 4 pitches. I didn't see him throw any cutters in this game, so these are the 4 primary pitches, and really he just went with 3. He threw only 3 changeups, but you'll see why it's good when he throws it here in a second. So let's just watch his 4 pitches and then we'll talk about it. This is the fastball, this is the slider, this is the curveball, and this is the changeup. Okay, so those are the 4 pitches, and they probably just look kind of like a lot of pitches that you've seen on TV before, but let's go back and look at some of these things first, all right? If we go back to the fastball right here, the fastball is 92. Now, he'll be anywhere from 92 to 95 in a game. All right, so that's speed range number 1. Let's go and look at this. This is the slider, and this pitch is 85 miles an hour. This slider will be anywhere from like 85 to 88 in a game, usually in the 85-86 range. So that's speed range number 2. Here's the curveball. And this curveball is 83 miles an hour, and this will be anywhere from 81 to 83. And if we check out this changeup here, this changeup is 87 miles an hour, so that slots in right here. And the changeup will be anywhere from 86 to 89 miles an hour in the game. So when you talk about pitch differentiation, you have 2 different things that you need to talk about. You have to talk about the shape of the pitch. So one has lift and one has bite, one has slide, one has run, stuff like that. But then you also have to talk about the speed range. Now if you're, let's take an example pitcher that's 95 miles an hour and he throws a breaking ball at 85 miles an hour and nothing in between. Well, a hitter can either choose to sit on hard or sit on soft, and if he sits on one of those, he's going to be on time. But what about a guy like Bieber over here who's got 4 speed ranges? What do you sit on? Well, at every speed range from 81 to 95, you're going to get a pitch in there that looks the same and moves differently. So his arsenal is really well set up. He has a bunch of different speed ranges, and he has a bunch of distinct movements at those different speed ranges. So that's the first thing. His arsenal is very distinct. The pitches are consistent, but they're distinct from each other. Okay. So now let's look at how he actually goes about using them. So I took those first 4 pitches that I showed you, the fastball, slider, curveball, and changeup, and I put them on top of each other. I overlaid them. And I want you to look at Shane's delivery here. I mean, it's almost impossible to tell that there's multiple deliveries going on here. Look how consistent his body is. And so we're going to talk here about tunneling. And most times when people talk about tunneling, and at least announcers that you'll hear on TV or something, they don't understand the exact concept, so they talk about the release point being the exact same. They'll talk about the body being exact same so the hitter doesn't get any early recognition. Now that is definitely important, but it's kind of a prerequisite, in my opinion, to being a big league pitcher. You see here the release point is very similar. The body is almost identical. all right? But really what's important is to look at how these pitches go to the plate. Now there's 4 pitches here, and you can see them kind of right here. You got a pitch right here, you got a pitch here, and a pitch there. So there's 4 balls overlaid here, but I want you to look at how tightly grouped these pitches are. Now this pitch that separates off early is the changeup, and that changeup ends up a little bit below the zone. But imagine for a second that he just threw that changeup for a strike in this area. That pitch would be elevated a little bit on the trajectory, and it would be right in line with these 3 pitches. Now you can't even tell here, if you look at this grouping, that there is even 3 pitches. And if we zoom in a little bit here, it might make it easier to see. Okay, so here's the changeup, and I want you to, like, what do you think this pitch is here, and this pitch is here, and that pitch is there? Can you identify at any point along this trajectory out of his hand which pitch is which? Now, maybe if you look at it, you could say, okay, this one on top is on top there, and then it's on bottom there, so you might be able to tell that it's a curveball. But, I mean, we're talking about, let's see here, release. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, really 7 frames, almost 8 frames until these balls separate enough to see anything in between them. And the balls only take about 15 frames to the plate, so those are about halfway to the plate. All right, so this grouping is extremely tight. Now let's look at where these pitches end up in the strike zone. All right, well, you have a fastball that just got to the strike zone, and it's the fastest one, and it ended up right here. Okay, and then you got the next pitch, which is the changeup, 87, ending up right there, like I said, below the zone. And the next one you have is the slider that ends up right here, and then the slowest one is the curveball, and the curveball is ending up right down here below the zone. So with those locations in mind, when you see this grouping of pitches coming out, this kind of tightly grouped bunch of pitches here, and they end up 92 to 95. Let's draw that better. 92, come on, there we go, 92 to 95 there. You got this one ending up 86 to 89. You have this one over here at 85 to 87, and this one at 81 to 83. So you have, they all look the same, and they all end up in different spots. 2 of them are strikes. One of them, you know, these 2 here are clear strikes. This one, the changeup down here, is a borderline pitch, and if you just shift all of these up, so the fastball's here, the slider's here, then the changeup becomes a strike. So you have something that's up and in, something that's down and in, something that's down and away as a strike, and then you have this chase pitch that looks like 3 strikes that ends up below the zone for swing and miss. It's a really difficult problem to solve. Okay, so that's the breakdown. That's the first thing. His pitches, he creates a lot of confusion with that approach because the hitters are seeing 4 pitch types in different locations, but they all look the same. So which one do you swing at and which speed do you swing at? It's really difficult to solve. So I found an at-bat this game that actually illustrates this confusion. So let's watch that here. You're going to get a first pitch, curveball. Now, watch how this ball, look how long this ball looks like a fastball. I mean, that looks like a pitch that's going to be like in the middle of the zone. And then 0-0, actually this is 1-0. He threw a waste pitch that was nowhere close, he just missed. And then so this is actually a 1-0 count. But you get this pitch, it looks like a fastball middle, like a really hittable pitch, and then it ends up bouncing. So you get this swing. Okay, great. Next, you get this check swing. Now, I mean, this is a 1-1 count, and this is a fastball it runs off the plate a little bit, okay? But I mean, look at this type of swing that you get right here. Like, it looks like he's trying to read, and then he's like, oh, nope, I want to swing, but I don't want to and he looks confused, all right? So this gets us to 1-2. And you can see this, if you watch his reaction here, shaking his head, just looks confused. Let's go back. Let's look at that again. Let's look at right when he swings, because it starts very early. Just watch his head. Watch his reaction right here, all right? There's a little like head tilt, like some annoyance. He's like shaking his head, like I can't see, I can't believe I swung at that. And then we get this pitch. Now it might look like he just missed this pitch, okay? But watch the timing, watch the body language here. He's not getting a good swing off here. He's slow, he's reading, he's looking, he's looking, he's looking. He's like, oh shoot, that's a fastball. That's in the zone. I got to swing, and the ball's by him because he was delayed. Read, 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 read. Try to get some information. Is this going to break? Is it not? Oh, too late. Ball's by you. Now, this fastball is only 93. So this fastball is below league average velocity-wise. But when you create this type of tunneling confusion, you get these confused swings. You get that read, I don't know if it's going to break or not. Oh, shoot, emergency swing. Or you get a 1-0 swing on a curveball in the dirt. Like, oh, it looks like fastball. I can hit it. 1-0 count. Oh, no, it's a curveball. You get check swings like, oh, I don't know if I want to swing at that or not. I thought this at-bat was really illustrative of the setup that he's had going all game. And you can see here it's the bottom of the 7th. I think this is the 3rd at-bat that he's faced this guy in this game. And so he's seen all these pitches come out and be strikes or be balls, but they all look the same, and he just doesn't know what to do in this at-bat. So that's the first thing. He creates a ton of confusion. His arsenal's really good, but you can't do that unless you can command the ball. All right? So here's these 3 pitches, just so you can see what I'm talking about. You know, you look at 2 pitches right here. Let's zoom in real quick. You got these 2 pitches right here that are overlaid on top of each other. You can't tell exactly what they are at this point. And then one of them's the strike 3 that he was really late on here, and one of them is the curveball that you can see bounces way down here. And then the other one, there's a little bit of separation at least, probably just because it's going, up a little bit more. It ends up kind of up and out over here. That's the one that he like check swung at, but you can see how close they are going to the plate, and like, okay, what do I swing at? What do I not swing at? You get a check swing here, a bad excuse me swing there, and a really late excuse me swing there. And it's all because look at how closely these balls are overlaid to each other. Good luck with that. Okay, so that's on the tunneling and the repertoire side. The next thing is command, because it doesn't do you any good to have great pitches that go together if you can't get them to the proper zone. So what do we have here on the screen? We have, courtesy of 4app, they sent me some command charts of this game, and this is kind of looking like the circle. Let's explain the charts here for a second. So 0, 0, right here, if you draw your axis lines, that means that's where the intended location of the pitch was, right? So if you hit your intended location every single time, every single pitch would be concentrated right in the center of that. Let me switch to red so you guys can see it. So every pitch would be concentrated in the center of these circles if you hit your target every time. Now, this larger red circle here is a 10-inch circle. Now, this basically, you can think of this as a quadrant of the zone, okay? So if you can get the ball in a quadrant of the zone, up and in when you want it, down and away when you want it, and just different areas, like, it's pretty good. The average miss in the big leagues is like sometimes, depending on the pitcher, like if you're really good, probably 10 inches. If you're not as good, maybe 14 inches on average, but you're not like hitting your spot every single time. The average miss is pretty large. 10 inches is actually a pretty small average miss, so it'd be above average on a command scale. And look how many times look how full this circle is here with his fastball, okay? He's getting the ball to a quadrant more than half the time. Look at this changeup. He's getting the ball to a quadrant 2/3 of the time. Here on the slider, he's getting the ball to a quadrant like well more than half the time. And if you look over here at the curveball, he's getting the ball to a quadrant well more than half the time. So basically 50% of the pitches he throws go to the area that he wants them to go to. That's impressive. It's incredible, really. I mean, this is like you have 2 misfires over here. You have a misfire over here. You probably have a couple misfires up here. Maybe this one here. So we can, if we're being picky, you can say 3 misfires on a fastball, 4 misfires on a fastball. You got a misfire over here on a slider. So that's 5, and you got 2 on the curveball. Maybe a couple over. Let's get really critical, and let's just say he has 10 misfires in a game in which he threw 110 pitches. That means 90% of his pitches, more than 90% of his pitches are competitive, and they're going to the quadrants. So this makes it really easy to hit a tunnel. Let's look at your strike zone really quick. Let's draw it on the screen. If you know that your fastball needs to get to this quadrant, and your slider gets to this quadrant, and your curveball gets to that quadrant, and your changeup gets to that quadrant, and they all look the same. This is the tunneling setup that I put up earlier in the video. If you can get the pitches here more than 50% of the time, like think about all the confusion. So let's say there's 8 pitches, 4 of them you get to the correct places. That means the hitter's seeing one fastball here, a slider here, a curveball here, and a changeup there out of 8 pitches, and they're like, now what the heck am I supposed to be swinging at? So now anytime you throw a pitch that's out of that quadrant, let's think about these curveballs up here. Okay, these pop out of his hand and they're up and to the right. So instead of being able to hit this quadrant, they're up and to the right. Now, what a hitter is seeing though is that a curveball pops up. So he sees this over and over and over and over again, and one goes here and one goes there and one goes over here and one goes down there. Now all of a sudden you see this, and you get this up and in curveball, which are all these curveballs that are circled over here, because he's trying to throw them down here and he's ending them up there. Well, you're going to freeze on that because you're like, oh, it popped up. What was that? All right, so even these misses are set up really well. When Shane tries to target this area, that's a bad color. When Shane tries to target this area down here and he misses, he's missing in a pretty good zone because you're going to get a lot of freezes. So these over here aren't even damaging pitches. The same thing can be said with the slider. Let's redraw this diagram for a second. When you have this setup and you're trying to throw your slider in this zone and you miss a little bit up and arm side, you're missing here. But that means that that ball is popping up above the strike zone and falling back down into the strike zone, so it looks like a ball. So these are productive pitches. These are productive pitches. Fastballs here, these are productive pitches. Let's think about this for a second. Let's switch over here to blue. If you're trying to hit this zone and you miss a little bit up, that's right above the zone. So now you can see any curveball or slider that's a strike up here, you probably get some swing and miss up here. Now, if you're trying to hit this zone with your fastball and you miss a little bit up, that's still in the zone. This is the location that, and remember in that at bat, the confused at bat that I showed you, you got a fastball swing here. So if he was trying to go down and away, that looks very much like this miss pattern, but you get a swing on it. So literally all of these pitches, I can look at this chart and I can say this one probably is a yank, probably not productive. These two probably are yanks and probably not productive, and maybe a couple of these are like too far out of the window to be productive. But in a course of 110 pitches, let's see, that's 7 pitches. He's like 93% competitive pitches here, and 50% or more getting the ball into the very specific quadrant that he wants it in. So he's got an elite setup of pitches. He's got an elite command of them. That makes it really difficult for a hitter to hit. And then the third thing that you see with Shane is he's like the nicest guy, like in the clubhouse, off the field, the most chill, relaxed guy. Like, I love him. Awesome dude. And when he gets on the mound, he's a fiery competitor. So check this out. Here you go. This is the 113th pitch of the game, a 0-0 ball game in the bottom of the 9th. Okay, he's got 2 guys on. This inning, his command kind of went away from him a little bit in this inning. Things got a little bit squirrely to get 2 guys on. And just watch his reaction here. Curveball down. Just fired up, yelling. Just in the moment, like super competitive. He's like, there's no reason to be fired up about this. You didn't necessarily, there is a lot of reason to be fired up about this, but you didn't just win the game. It was a big moment. He gets fired up. He's yelling at his teammates, let's go. He's fired up that he got out of it. It's just a super competitor here. And to do this on pitch 113, that's the third thing. So if I had to give you the spark notes of it, 3 things that make Shane Bieber elite. He's got good setup of pitches. They're distinct and they tunnel really well together. He's got great command, really, really great command of those 4 or 5 pitches. So he creates a ton of confusion, and he's a fiery competitor on the mound. He cares. He wants to get after it. He wants to win. And this is really why you've seen the trajectory of his career go from when he first came up, he was kind of a sinker slider guy and didn't throw a whole lot else. And in the span of a couple years, he cares a lot to get better. So he's gone to more 4 seams and sliders, added the curveball in, which I've always thought is his best pitch, and that's the one he punches most people out on. And then he's added the changeup, and he actually has a really good one now. He added the little cutter, so he's constantly diversifying his arsenal, constantly commanding those pitches, and he's competing in a fiery way with the best competitors in the league. That's why Shane's one of the best pitchers in the league right now, and he will continue to be one of the best pitchers for a long time moving forward, because there's just absolutely no holes in his game. So hopefully you like that video. Hopefully you like that breakdown. If you want to see me do other pitchers that I think are elite and kind of learn from them and whatnot, let me know in the comments. If not, that's fine too, but I'll see you guys in the next video.